Well, thank you everyone and welcome to the ERISA Student Webinar Series. This is co-hosted by the Vanguard Cabinet and the Professional Education Committee. My name is Anne Fredericks and I'll be your moderator today. I volunteer for ERISA on the board of directors, and professionally I work with USGS to help people, whether it's scientists or our nation's citizens, to federal, state, and local agencies. I really want to help people discover and create geospatial data to empower location intelligence. And I really like doing this through outreach. So this webinar series is one of my favorite new initiatives that ERISA has brought on, and it's great thanks to Vanguard Cabinet. This is the second in the series featuring the 2020 University Student and Young Professional Digital Competition finalists. So today we're joined by Siobhan Van Allen and Megan Young of the Vanguard Cabinet, and I wondered if you guys would tell us a little bit about the Vanguard Cabinet, maybe one of the great initiatives that you've been working on.
Sam, thanks for that introduction. I'm Siobhan Van Allen, and I'm a second-year member of the Vanguard Cabinet. Like Zan mentioned, the digital competition is one outreach initiative that the Vanguard Cabinet has annually that allows young professionals throughout the organization to submit content to share with others. Another new initiative we have coming out this year is called the Coalition of Young Professionals. We're hoping to get more YPs throughout ERISA's community involved and network with us. The coalition specifically is meant to outreach to young professionals who maybe have never had the opportunity to be on a board or really get involved with ERISA before. The Vanguard Cabinet will work with these young professionals to create new outreach opportunities and to connect with universities and colleges in their area. So if you know someone or you yourself are interested in learning more about the ERISA organization or gaining some leadership and outreach skills, we'd love to have you participate in the Coalition of Young Professionals. Again, we're launching that this month. And if you'd like more information, you can reach out to us at erisa.vc@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, Siobhan. And I see that Megan added the link to the chat, so be sure to check it out. And thank you to you both and to Vanguard in general for your work on the student webinar series. Today, we are joined by Renso Ronquillo, who is a spatial information analyst on the Business Innovation and Emergency Response team at the Government of British Columbia. And his experience really focuses on integrating GIS for provincial government and transportation. And recently, his work has been focusing on modernizing emergency response in the transportation sector. So today, he's joining us to present his research on traffic incidents in operational reporting in Calgary, Alberta. So before I welcome Renso, I do want to let you know you have the ability to unmute yourself. So if you keep yourself muted while you're not speaking to let it be clear for Renso, that would be fantastic. And I encourage you to enter your questions into the chat. Renso will be able to address those during any time remaining after his presentation. So with that, Renso, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm hoping everyone had a chance to have a wonderful Christmas vacation and now back with enthusiasm and good energy in the start of the year. Firstly, I would like to thank the ERISA and ERISA Vanguard Cabinet in giving the young professional like me on having this opportunity in sharing our projects and researches. And next, thank you to all of the attendees today and having the time in joining us in my webinar. So yeah, as I mentioned, the topic for today is the Calgary Traffic Incident Operations Reporting and Dashboard Case Study. I usually start with a short story, a background of my research. Usually it has like a meaningful or fun background about it. So here's my cartography poster in 2019 when I was studying GIS in Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. It's a lot of work putting all of these graphs and also dealing with spreadsheet. I was using Excel before, but after I gained experience in Python programming and ArcGIS Online from my work experience, I was able to turn it into a meaningful application like this. And this is something we'll be talking in detail later on this presentation. Now, The outline of this presentation are the following. I'll give you a few moments to digest it. Okay. So when I was putting together this application, I was applying my knowledge from Ministry of Transportation and um, and, a, and then my expertise that I've understand from the actual field worker that does the road maintenance in British Columbia, and how the management wants the reporting visualized and standardized at the end of this um, up at the end. So my goal in putting this application was first refine and standardize the traffic incidents reporting, design a data model that can help decision makers to prioritize incidents and get situational awareness, incorporate assets in reporting so that we can use it for advanced planning and programs that can improve the safety of Calgarians, um, and then streamline reporting using Esri Mobile and Web application. Something I forgot to say, this is not affiliated with the City of Calgary itself. It's my personal project. And yeah, moving on to data wrangling using Python and Pandas library. So the original data can be found in the City of Calgary Open Data Portal. It's called the Traffic Incident Archive 2017. So it's a spreadsheet, and they also have other um, data formats that it can be downloaded. So I like this picture here because I think it kind of resonates with data scientists and GIS specialists in general, because we are most of the time we are given with unstructured data. Sometimes they call it garbage data, and we need to make sure that this garbage or unstructured data turns into a valuable information. As the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. Um, so I think the picture is telling us you have the unstructured data here. We understand the data, we sort it, and we create a data model out of it. We arrange it, and we put it on a platform that can easily be interpreted by our stakeholders or decision makers, and for them to have a effective decision at the end of the day. So if you ever heard Python 3 and Jupyter Notebook, I'm using that platforms in data wrangling. Um, okay. Um, so for Python, I'm using the Pandas data frame, and you can easily see here the spreadsheet in a tabular format and it is presented in a web browser. And using Pandas, I can easily understand the data, what are the statistics of the numerical columns here, what are the columns itself. And the most important takeaway here is at first if you see this description field here, it seems logical, standardized already. But if you go into detail using Pandas data frame, you can now see how some uh, field staffs actually have deviated from, I believe, the standard reporting procedure. So you'll see a lot of different patterns here. And I did a lot of like pre-processing, and then you can create an initial statistic out of it. And however, this is not enough. We want to make it streamlined using Survey 123 or other applications that are capable in doing so. Okay, I'm going back to my presentation. So based on the data wrangling, we can see three important information. So we have the type of traffic incidents. So it could be single, two vehicle and stuff. And then the traffic status, how did it affect the road? Is the road still open? Maybe the whole road is closed, or maybe it's just a certain part of the road. If it's like a 4-lane road, maybe it's just one of the lanes are blocked. And also, based on my experiences, we want to incorporate the road information. So the City of Calgary, how they are the administrative boundary in City of Calgary is divided by um, quadrant, so or octant, so and by wards, and then you want to have the actual road itself. Now, going to the survey 1 to 3 data modeling. So when I was putting together this data model, this is the simplest visualization that I could think of. So basically, this information here, it says from reading from left to right, one site report or traffic incident can have multiple traffic updates. This is because, for example, a single vehicle crash uh, can have can have a affect the road. It would be closed, but later on it will be open. So that's why we have multiple records for the traffic status. But going from uh, reading from right to left, you can only have one traffic update or status related to an incident type. So as I mentioned, it's important to incorporate the asset information in the survey itself. So best way to do this is to actually interact with the spatial files of City of Calgary, which is the road network itself. In this part, we need to understand that Survey 1 to 3 have 3 essential columns when it comes to their spreadsheet backend. This is the name, the label, and the list name. So the name represents what is the value in the database side, while the label represents what it's going to be shown on the survey form itself. So for here, for example, at the back end, we want to, as much as possible, it could be related. We could still connect it to the actual road network. So the way City of Calgary did it is their road network is all capitalized, and I don't want to show all capitalized letters or words in the survey. I just want to make it more clean per se. So I have to manipulate it into this using GeoPandas, and then add this other filters here. So the quadrant, road class, and ward actually represent as filters. So for example, on the record here, for a user to select 7 First Street Southeast, they have to choose Southeast Quadrant, Urban Boulevard Road Class, and Ward 7. So I was able to streamline this using Python. So I used GeoPandas. So GeoPandas is equivalent of Pandas, but if there's a geo, it means it can understand location and read spatial data. So for instance, I'm reading a shapefile, a Calgary Road Network shapefile, and did a lot of like cleaning, modification, and exported that as a spreadsheet. So I did like an overlay here, another modification, and then export it as a survey 1 to 3 spreadsheet. So the outcome would be this. So using GeoPandas, we can streamline this. And after, let's say I finish it, I could just copy and then go to the XLS form of the survey 1 to 3 part and just paste it here. And then it would now automatically updates the survey itself. So aside incorporating asset information, one thing that I've learned too is having the ability to know which site needs priority. So a priority site can be different in different organization. So when I was working in Ministry of Transportation, their priority site is based on if it will get like a media attention, how big is the event, how or the damage affected, um, if it's a number route, if it's a highway, they consider it's a priority site. And then lastly, something that I learned trick this year, which I like, is the annotated images. So in survey 123, you can actually take a photo or import a photo from your gallery or a map, and then you can add um, drawings, text. So it would make, so once you submit this photo, it will have a lot of like information on the image itself and help the people in the emergency operation centers. So those are the main components of my survey 123, and I'll give you a fast uh, review of my survey. So I divided my survey into two. You have the site information and then the traffic incidents. And then it incorporates the um, road assets itself and adds additional data integrity by giving a lot of conditional statements here. So if I change uh, if I change it to Southwest, it might have a different words on it. So and then you have here where you can see you can tell what the traffic status. And the thing with survey 123, it can have a related table connected to the main table. So by using they call it as a repeat table. So if you see this on survey 123, it means you can submit multiple multiple um, record related to that main record, which in this case is the site information. Um, okay. Next, we have the data model. We are using an application now to do the data capturing. It's time to put it on a meaningful platform, which we're in this time we're using ArcGIS Online. Um, I designed the web map very clean, so it only uses the road network itself, the administrative boundary. We don't have to go into details, like for example, the building footprints. I don't think it's needed. And also it is, most of our layers here are scale dependent. We want to make sure the web map has scale dependencies on it to so that the web map itself would have fast performance, because we don't want to populate the web map with a lot of information and it will slow down the performance. Um, Next, um, I use arcade expression. So arcade expression is only native to ArcGIS Online and ArcPro. I like it in such way you can do a lot of manipulation on the fly. So for instance, on this, I created an arcade expression that tells you whether there is a record or a traffic incident within the 6 hours period. Next one is the arcade expressions. You can apply arcade expression on the pop-ups in ArcGIS Online. And for this, I have on this pop-up, it has three components. So the first one is the color. This color changes depends on the type of traffic status it is. And then it also calculates when it was submitted. So since I submitted it last August and I didn't put it back into an open traffic status, it has been there for 3,461 hours now. And then also I did a arcade expression where this where the traffic status is getting is pulled from the related table, which I mentioned earlier, that how which is how the survey 123 is designed. Um, Great. Now we're going to the dashboard demo, which is the fun part for me. Um, so here's the dashboard. You have a lot of like widgets here. You have the filter here, select, and then the graphs. Um, the way I design most of my dashboard is they do a filter here and then select a list here. I think it's better and very straightforward way to so the user would not be lost in exploring the dashboard. So for example, I did my filter here. I want to filter by traffic status. Um, it would automatically affect the all of the most of the widgets here. And then if I'm going to select a list from here, so the lists here are sorted by date, which is very important. We want to focus on which one is the most recent. And if I click a um, a record here, it would isolate it on the map and give us the information. So it's a multi-vehicle incident. It says it's blocked left lane, traffic status. So it's probably, and it was reported 2.16 hours ago. And it also comes with other important information here. So it means they have to go to 9th Avenue Southeast, and the reporter is um, GS. All right. When I was working in Ministry of Transportation, one of the reporting data format that they would like to have is Excel spreadsheet. I think it's very important to have it because most of the time our management likes to deal with spreadsheet rather than the platform itself, and they also use it for administrative stuff. When it comes to in creating a spreadsheet report tailored to your management, I am using this following Python libraries. So I'm using ArcGIS API for Python to interact with the ArcGIS Online items or the layer itself, the layers in ArcGIS Online. I'm using Pandas for data manipulation, calculation, cleaning of the data, and then once you have that clean data or table, you could pass it to Plotly for visualization, which I'm going to show later. And then XLS Wings is it's a Python library so we can create Excel spreadsheet. So here it is. So I'm connecting with ArcGIS Online first, and then I do a lot of data cleaning here. So I'm renaming the columns because I don't want it to have this all capitalized words. I want it to be clean. I don't want this underscore here. Um, and then also I created a custom function using Pandas to create the statistics. So for example, here I want to have a statistics for the number of incident by quadrant or octant. So as you can see here, for example, for north boundary, there is one multi-vehicle, and there's 2 pedestrian incidents. In northeast, we could see here that there are a large number of 2-vehicle incidents in 2017, and you could do a lot of things here using this function. So the next one was if we want to know how many what is the number of incident by incident type based on the road class. So um, for example, here on the arterial street road class, there are 258 counts of 2-vehicle incident, which is very useful because it can help decision makers which maybe road class they should be focusing on. And then I created another function that is based on time, so it just calculates it. So when I was based on the data from ArcGIS Online, on August 2020, we have the following. So on the west quadrant, we have 7 uh, totals of incidents, and it's even break down into different. So you have 6 single vehicle, 1 2 vehicle. So which is really neat. So I do encourage everyone to explore Python and Pandas when it comes to reporting. And then, as I've told earlier, Plotly is very useful for visualization purposes. So maybe I should run this. So if I run this, I did my statistic earlier. Now I'm passing it to Plotly. And there you go. You have this wonderful visualization. So you can do a lot of graphs here. And this is a basic code here. I didn't do a lot of like customization. Um, and the graph that you're seeing here is a bar stack. So for example, for a 2 vehicle incident, you can have a stack of composed of 258 counts of arterial street. You have 189 skeletal road, and then 87 on urban boulevard. And what I love when it comes to Plotly, it's really interactive, and um, can hover around, see what it means. Um, However, if I put it into an Excel spreadsheet, it won't be as interactive anymore. And lastly, I'm using the XL Winks in creating a Excel spreadsheet. So if I run this, I'm hoping it don't have any errors. Usually, Python likes to trip around. Right, so it seems like it worked. Um, so the final product here is this. So you have the raw data, and then you have the statistics here that could be useful, and then monthly incidents, and then the plot. And you can submit it to your contractors, because in Ministry of Transportation, we have contractors. They are the people who maintains our roads. So we send out this reports to them and also to the management. So it's very important to have this skill set. Yeah, and then other products that I've used this because now we have data captured. You can use it for your GIS analysis. Here, this is based by road network. The thickness represent how many traffic incidents here. You can also do like density analysis. And then you can see the points are there's a high density of traffic incident in the downtown commercial core, which makes sense. And then this area here, I think this is Deerfoot in Calgary, and it's a highway, and it's very notorious to a lot of like traffic incidents, which makes sense as well. And something important here to notice is there's also there is a high concentration on four lane intersections. I don't know if that makes sense in road terminologies, but on this like four this roads here where they're all interacts, and a lot of like I think this is a point where you go to a highway. There's a lot of like incidents here. Maybe if you pass it to your engineers or the management, they can do something about the structure itself, so it will have less incidents in the future. Yeah, so going through this and just reflecting, having GIS in transportation is very crucial. So it will give us situational awareness. It can improve the allocating of human resources and other type of resources to the scene. And then having this data in our hands now, we can incorporate that information to advance planning and policies that can help improve the quality of living in the city of Calgary. So here's the end of my presentation, and thanks everyone for listening.
Well, thank you so much, Renzo. For those who have just joined us, we've been listening to Renso Ronquillo, a spatial information analyst for the government of British Columbia, and he's been telling us about his research on traffic incidents in operational reporting in Calgary, Alberta. So I want to take this moment and encourage everyone to enter any questions you have into the chat. We could do this informally as well. You could unmute yourselves. We've got a good group on today. I wanted to start by asking Renzo, what's next? You showed all this fantastic, the Python, you showed your notebook, the APIs, your analyses, things like that. Do you think you're going to expand your work either spatially or temporally to, go beyond Calgary? Would you like to dig further and see what kind of trends you notice? What do you think you might do next?
I think I'll start first because I'm actually part now of emergency management and transportation in British Columbia. So I'm applying what I've been learning from my past experiences to this program. So we are doing on how we can integrate GIS into an earthquake coastal response in British Columbia, and it involves part of how can we the transportation and infrastructure sector be ready when a catastrophic earthquake happen. So it involves a lot of that's a project I'm looking forward to be thoroughly involved and be hands-on on that. Something I'm looking forward to is how we can integrate other maybe machine learning or business BI, a business information dashboard in this kind of emergency response initiative when it comes to transportation.
That sounds exciting. And I think were they the priority sites where you were able to attach an image and then disclose if it had been resolved, I think for like the other applications you just mentioned, those image attachments would be a great attribute to have, especially in any kind of emergency response, that I feel like that aids in the resilience because people can either go back, it's an archive of what had happened, but it also helps people know what they're responding to. You mentioned in your advantages, that GIS lets us get the right resources out to the scene potentially more quickly. And of course, that can save lives. And I feel like if those first responders or emergency managers have that information on hand, especially a photo of the damage, they'll be more prepared with what elements and what resources they are sending. That makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. I also wondered, what did you encounter anything unexpected, right? You mentioned that you were doing your pre-processing and that it would return immediate statistics and we could see those figures coming up. Did you ever hit run and then something came back that just totally caught you off guard or that just was unexpected?
Well, searching on it, like understanding the data itself, I was just surprised how at first it looks very structured already, but going into detail, you can see that there's a room for improvements. And I think working on a digital or a technological role, we need to work as they call it, less agile, right? So.
Oh, that makes sense. Again, feel free to enter any of your questions at Renzo. I wondered if you had any tips or tricks that you'd pass on to people that are doing similar analyses or approaching a project such as this.
Yeah. I think first one is I think it would be vital to learn Python and of course like Pandas because it's very useful on understanding the data, making sure the quality of the data, and also for like standardizing. Next, something I've learned from my experiences is interacting with your stakeholders, which is very important. who will be using the application, at what is the needed output. So it could be a map, a spreadsheet report, a dashboard that could help the decision makers in their responding to on an event is very crucial. And always start small. I started small on this, which I told everyone. It started as a poster for my cartography class, and then it turned to a dashboard and along the way because I've learned these experiences and I just applied to that. Um, yeah, I think those are my takeaways from this experience. So.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing. I see in the chat that Michelle says you did a great job. And Alan is asking he's saying your operation dashboard looks cool. How much time did it take you to design those out? And what were some of the considerations in their design? Meaning your thought behind pie chart versus bar charts, things like that.
Sure. Maybe I'll share the dashboard so we'll have a better.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Zane. I didn't know if I was allowed to talk or if I had to put it through the
you
chat.
You sure are.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Great job.
Yeah, so my thoughts about the dashboard, I think my original dashboard actually has a lot of like numbers on this. So, and it has a lot of numbers when it comes to the traffic incident. And then I realized I already have a graph here. So it seems like so redundant to have the numbers like this that displayed when I already have another here that says the same thing. So I took it out and then maximized the map here. And we also need to see, I also want to make sure the best experiences for the user. So we don't want them to get lost on the dashboard itself. So I usually add a little comment here. So it says here, select a record from the list to filter the dashboard, which very intuitive, very straightforward, and can help whoever is viewing the dashboard itself. And sometimes little things really matter, which most of the time we don't notice, right? And for example, here it doesn't looks obvious, but the lists here are sorted by dates. And then on a management perspective, I'm thinking like I don't care if the traffic stat is already open. Like it's nice to have it there, so I separated it. So yeah, I think those are things that I've learned in doing the dashboard.
Yeah, that's nice. And anytime you can add those inline helps like that, I mean, that's huge because it's not always. I mean, the idea is these are really intuitive dashboards usually, but they're not always. And you've got you're bringing across a ton of data, so it's the way to manage it like that is. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
Well, and I think you make a really good point, Alan, that with bringing so much data across too, depending on your audience, if you want this usable for someone that's not quite as GIS savvy, those instructions can really clarify and save crucial time, right? We're talking about traffic incidents. So seconds may count. So if someone has to look even twice if they don't understand the symbology, or like you said, you have good use of your visual hierarchy, right? You've enlarged the map in order to make that visually impactful and the first thing people can really concentrate on. But Alan, really good point that, yeah, those little bylines, if you will, or the instructions, that can really, really save time if you're unfamiliar with the data. It's your first time visiting it. Very well done. I see Kevin also said he really enjoyed the presentation. We've got a comment from George saying, great job. I like your takeaway of starting as a poster and then building out as you learn new techniques. Thank you for sharing. I thought so too, George. I thought that was neat that in 2017, he had the static image, right? And then all of a sudden you used the innovations of GIS and made it interactive. And I think that's what's really fascinating to me and what I really enjoy about watching these student webinar series in the 2020 competition was seeing how you guys have embraced that innovation, because you're helping us relearn or stay up to date ourselves. So I'm with George. I really enjoyed that he used that as a springboard. I thought that was really great. And on that, Renso, I wonder, to your fellow geospatial students, whether this project or in your coursework, do you have any advice that you would follow that really, you know, spoke to you about competing in the ERISA competition, or was there something that drew you to us? Do you have any words of wisdom for your fellow students?
I think in general, I like the vision of ERISA Vanguard itself on having a network, because it really greatly helped me in establishing my career early. And just having this opportunity of showcasing our work is a big deal for someone was pretty new in the GIS industry. So thank you very much.
Oh, certainly. I'm so glad you joined us. And that's a good point. So if we've got other geospatial students on the line, I hope you do learn more about the Vanguard Cabinet, because I'm with you, right? I came to ERISA because I wanted to grow my network wherever I was at the point in my career, and it's done the same thing for me. So it's nice to hear that it worked as well for you as well. I see Curtis has entered into the chat. Is Plotly free, or does it need to be purchased and installed?
It's absolutely free. You just need to install the Python and the library Plotly on your device, and you can do sorts of visualization. And what I like when it comes to Plotly is you can export it into different formats: an image, PDF, can even like HTML if you want it to be like really interactive, and then you can give this HTML to your stakeholder and have that. It's interactive, but it's still static in a way because it's not connecting to a live data compared to ArcGIS Online dashboard.
Sure, that makes sense. Any additional questions for Renzo while we've got him for a little bit longer? Feel free to unmute yourself, and Alan did turn on your video, and you can ask live, or you can enter it into the chat. I know some people's bandwidth sometimes is a limitation in these situations. I wondered, Renzo, are these your applications and these examples, are they available? Is it something we could go visit and play around with, or are you keeping it internal because it's something you're working on, like you were telling us earlier, that it's, you know, your project? And I completely understand. I think we all have our own little sandbox somewhere we're playing with.
The application itself is free. It's free to public. However, the Jupyter notebook that I have, it's not hosted anywhere at the moment, but I could definitely share it to participants if they want to.
Okay, and would people just be able to reach out to you? Maybe potentially you could put your contact information in the chat box if there's an email or a LinkedIn link that people could research or reach you at. I think it's always good, I think, building our networks this way, especially when you see someone's work or somebody's code and you want to use it, and, you know, obviously attribute and give credit where due, but it's nice not starting from scratch sometimes. Always good. Kevin said you might consider posting a link to ERISA Connect. Great idea, Kevin. We could continue this conversation on ERISA's Connect. It is a great way to get feedback and share your talents. So thanks for that suggestion, Kevin. And Curtis followed up to his Plotly comment saying, do you get cold in BC? Maybe you're interested in working in sunny Phoenix.
Let's see. Yeah, probably.
Thanks, Curtis, for that. I appreciate it. Okay, let's do one last call. Are there any additional questions for Renzo?
I had one other one, Zan. This is my question.
Sure.
And it's actually maybe more of a comment than a question, but I liked the stylistically way you presented with going into the Python and then showing what you could do. That's not something you see every day, right? So I think that's a, and then show here, hey, this is what this visualization looks like, and you can make it, you know, this is how you could do it. I think that was a good thing. Anything, I guess a question would be is, how easy is it to go through that and then come up and just like you were showing the one visualization with the chart in there? Could you do that with go deep into the ops dashboard and do the same stuff, like showing how each of those are done, or is it? I mean, that's just too much to go through like that.
I think it's possible. I'm actually taking a course on how to go onto a deep dive on this Plotly dashboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just gonna take a lot of interconnected codes, how it each component interacts. And I think something that I've learned this year is when it comes to emergency response, most of the time we're doing everything on the fly. So it's nice to have it's nice to have the ArcGIS Online dashboard, because in a scenario, for example, we want to know if a site is near an Indian reserve, and if the Indian reserve is not on the dashboard, we can easily integrate that using ArcGIS Online. So I think there's a particular situation where you want to use like Plotly and ArcGIS Online.
Yeah.
So
I just think it's great because it sort of demystifies that, could anybody even do this, kind of thing. It's so maybe some people who are interested in Python and getting involved, like they get excited, right? This is something we can go do. So appreciate that.
Yeah.
I agree, Alan. I think it kind of shows us what's behind the curtain, right? So often in presentations, you see all the work that went into it and then the results. And sometimes it's hard to make that connection. So watching you literally hit run, Renzo, was very, instant gratification, because we were there. And I see Kevin agrees. He said he sees a lot of presentations that are either too technical or too general. And this one struck a nice balance of telling how you did the project and why it matters. And I couldn't agree more, Kevin. Thanks for that feedback. Well, Renzo, I want to thank you again for joining us today and sharing your work and your data visualization techniques. I want to thank our attendees for supporting geospatial students. Renzo, as you said earlier, it's important, right, when you're early in the process to have the support and have these opportunities. So thank you guys for attending today. We do encourage you to continue this conversation, keep asking these kind of questions about Renzo's work or our other student webinar series. On EURISA Connect, it's a good platform to interact with other EURISA members. And if you've missed a webinar, be sure to check out EURISA's YouTube channel. The next EURISA webinar will be toward the end of January about NextGen 911, and then stay tuned for the announcement for the next in our student webinar series. We'll be having that probably in March or April. So I just want to thank you all so much for joining us today, and be well. And thank you again, Renzo. That was a great presentation.
Thanks, everyone.